Hey there, fellow deep divers. Ready to taste history in a cookie? Today, we're going to be diving into the surprisingly deep world of cannoli cookies.
Sounds delicious.
We're using a podcast script for easy cannoli cookies as our guide. And
Oh, cool.
trust me, you're in for a real treat.
Okay.
This is way more than just a recipe, though. It's a
Oh,
journey through time and taste.
I love it.
What's really fascinating is this is a modern twist on a classic Sicilian pastry. It's amazing how something so rooted in tradition can be reimagined for today's kitchen.
Yeah, you know what's really intriguing is that the word cannoli itself means little tube in Italian.
Huh.
It refers to the fried pastry shell.
Oh, okay.
And get this, these pastries date back to 9th century Sicily
Wow.
during the Arab rule.
Hold on, Arab rule. So we're saying cannoli have roots in Arab cuisine.
It certainly adds a whole new layer to the story, right?
That's blowing my mind a little.
Cannoli really showcase how food can be a delicious blend of cultures.
Mmm.
And from Sicily, they eventually made their way into Italian-American culture,
Oh, wow.
showing how food traditions can travel and evolve over time.
But we've got centuries of history baked into these cookies.
Literally.
But let's get to the recipe itself.
Okay.
The ingredient list is so simple.
Yeah.
It's all basic stuff like flour,
Yeah.
sugar,
Yeah.
ricotta cheeses you
Alright.
probably already have in your pantry.
You know, the ricotta cheese is really the star here.
Oh, yeah.
It gives the cannolis that signature creamy texture and slightly sweet flavor.
I love that.
And it's interesting because it was originally a way to use up leftover whey,
Really?
but it became a key ingredient in many Sicilian desserts. It
Wow.
really speaks to the resourcefulness and ingenuity of traditional cooking,
That's so cool.
turning leftovers into something incredible.
So talk us to the steps.
Okay.
Is it as easy as it sounds?
It seems pretty straightforward.
Okay.
The recipe starts with creaming butter and sugar.
Okay.
Then you mix in the ricotta,
Mhm.
add the dry ingredients, and shape the cookies.
So-
Pretty classic baking techniques. Nothing too intimidating even for a beginner baker.
Love that. What about the filling? I'm picturing that irresistible creamy center.
Of course, it's a blend of ricotta, powdered sugar, vanilla, and almond extract.
Mmm.
And for that extra touch of sweetness, you fold in mini chocolate chips.
Ooh, who can resist that?
Right.
Nobody. Speaking of irresistible, the script suggests dipping the filled cookies in even more mini chocolate chips
Yes.
or crushed pistachios.
Oh, wow.
Is that purely for decoration or does it add to the taste too?
It's a bit of both, actually.
Okay.
Dipping them adds visual appeal, but those extra chocolate chips or pistachios provide another layer of texture and flavor.
Mhm.
It's all about those little details that elevate the experience.
Details that make all the difference. So before we go any deeper, what are your initial thoughts? We've got this cookie with a rich history, simple ingredients, and an easy-to-follow recipe. What stands out to you so far?
I'm struck by how this recipe bridges the gap between a centuries-old tradition and something you can easily make in your own kitchen.
Yeah,
It's almost like bringing a piece of history to life through baking.
I totally get that.
Yeah,
There's something special about connecting with the past through food.
absolutely.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity.
Good.
What else can we uncover about these intriguing cannoli cookies?
Let's find out. You know, it's interesting you say that about connecting with the past through food.
Yeah.
Because this recipe isn't just a set of instructions, it's a form of storytelling, isn't it? Each ingredient, each step whispers tales of Sicilian markets and family kitchens.
Whoa, I like where you're going with this. It's like each bite is a mini history lesson.
Right.
But are we reading too much into a simple cookie?
Maybe not.
Okay.
Think about it. The sense of connection of being part of something bigger than ourselves is something we often crave in our modern world.
That's true.
And food can be that bridge.
Okay, I'm with you. But beyond the history, the script emphasizes how accessible this recipe is.
Right.
We talk about the ingredients, but even the techniques are pretty standard baking 101.
Exactly. You don't need any fancy equipment or specialized skills.
Okay.
It's about demystifying baking and making it enjoyable for everyone, regardless of their experience level.
And that's so important. Everyone should be able to experience the joy of creating something delicious, even if they're not a pastry chef.
I agree.
What other insights jumped out at you?
Well, remember how the recipe suggests dipping the cookies in chocolate chips or pistachios?
Yeah.
To me, that's a subtle invitation to get creative. It's saying,
Oh.
hey, this is a starting point now, make it your own.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah,
Like a culinary choose-your-own-adventure.
exactly.
What other twists could someone put on these cookies?
The possibilities are endless. You could experiment with different nuts, sprinkles, flavored extracts,
Ooh.
maybe even a drizzle of melted chocolate for an extra touch of decadence.
So we're not just baking history, we're adding our own chapter to the story.
I love it.
This is making me think, why does all this matter?
Hmm.
Why should anyone care about the history or cultural significance of a simple cookie?
That's a great question. I think it boils down to appreciating the depth of the culinary experience.
Okay.
Understanding the origins, traditions, and influences behind a dish makes it so much more meaningful.
Like knowing the backstory adds another dimension to a movie.
Exactly.
It's not just entertainment anymore, it's got layers.
Knowing where a dish comes from, the hands that have shaped it over generations, transforms a simple meal into a journey of discovery.
Wow.
It's like tasting history with each bite.
Okay, I'm sold. But this journey isn't over yet, is it?
Not at all.
What else can we glean from these cannoli cookies?
One thing that fascinates me is the recipe's emphasis on cooling the cookies completely before filling them.
Oh, yeah.
It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the importance of technique, even in simple baking.
Wait, what's the big deal about cooling? I'm guessing it has to do with texture.
You got it.
Okay.
Cooling prevents the filling from making the cookie soggy.
Ah, I see.
It's about achieving that perfect balance between the crisp cookie and the creamy filling.
Makes sense. So it's not just about following the steps, it's understanding the why behind them.
Right.
It's like baking with intention.
Absolutely. It's about respecting the process and understanding how each step contributes to the final result.
I feel like I'm learning so much more than just a recipe here.
Me too.
It's like a masterclass in baking history and appreciation all in one.
And that's what makes this deep dive so rewarding.
Yeah.
We started with a single cookie and uncovered a whole world of knowledge and inspiration.
Okay. I'm officially craving these cannoli cookies.
As am I.
But before we both rush off to the kitchen, let's wrap up this part of our conversation.
Okay.
We've talked history, technique, cultural significance.
Yeah.
What's the one thing our listeners should take away from all of this?
What's fascinating here is that we often overlook the stories behind the food we eat. We get caught up in the convenience and presentation, but rarely pause to consider the journey that brought that food to our plate.
It's like we're missing out on a whole layer of enjoyment, right?
Exactly.
Taking the time to understand the story makes the experience richer.
That's what we've tried to do today, shed light on that journey, explore the rich history and culture woven into something as seemingly simple as a cannoli cookie.
And what a delicious tapestry it is. But this exploration doesn't have to end here, does it?
Absolutely not. This is just the beginning. There's
Okay.
a whole world of food stories waiting to be discovered.
I can't wait to dive into more of them with you.
Likewise.
But first, I think we both need to bake some cannoli cookies.
I'm with you on that. Maybe we can even compare notes on our culinary creations.
Okay, so we've explored the history, the recipe, even the cultural significance of cannoli cookies.
It's been quite a journey.
But this whole conversation has sparked a question for me.
Oh,
And I bet our listeners are wondering the same thing.
okay. I'm all ears.
Well, we've talked about how these cookies represent a fusion of cultures and traditions, a blend of old and new.
Right.
But where do we draw the line? How do we balance preserving those culinary traditions while still embracing innovation in the kitchen?
That's a fantastic question. It's a delicate dance, isn't it?
It really is.
Between honoring the past and making space for creativity in the present.
Yeah.
I mean, we have these time-honored recipes passed down through generations, representing a heritage worth preserving.
Right. But we also have this drive to experiment, to our own spin on things.
Of course.
Isn't that how food evolves, how new traditions are born?
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot, respecting the essence of a dish,
Yeah.
while allowing it to grow and adapt.
Like with these cannoli cookies.
Yes.
They capture the heart of the traditional cannoli
Yeah.
with luscious ricotta filling,
Yes.
but reimagined in a fun, accessible way.
I think it's a perfect example of how innovation can build on tradition without erasing it.
So for our listeners who might be inspired to try this recipe, what advice would you give them? How can they approach this balance in their own kitchens?
I think it starts with understanding the why behind the recipe.
Okay.
What are the core elements that make this dish what it is?
The fundamentals.
Exactly. Once you grasp that, you can start playing with variations while still respecting the original spirit.
It's like learning the rules before you break them right.
That's a great way to put it.
Master the fundamentals, then let your creativity shine. So as we wrap up this deep dive into cannoli cookies, what's the biggest takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
I hope this conversation inspires everyone to look beyond the plate and appreciate the stories behind their food, the ingredients, the techniques, the cultural influences.
Yeah,
They all weave a rich tapestry that connects us to something bigger than ourselves.
beautifully said. It's like food becomes a window to the past, a bridge between cultures,
Yes.
and a celebration of human creativity, all rolled into one.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll even create a culinary masterpiece that will become a part of your family's story for generations to come.
I love that idea. So to all our listeners out there, don't just eat your food, experience it.
Yes.
Explore its history, appreciate its journey, and don't be afraid to add your own chapter to the story.
And if you're feeling inspired to try these cannoli cookies yourself, we've got the full recipe waiting for you on our website.
That's right. Head over to www.forkandfry.com.
We can't wait to see your delicious creation.
Share them with us on social media and be sure to tag us so we can celebrate your baking triumphs.
And of course, keep those culinary questions coming.
Yes.
We love hearing from you. You can connect with us on our website or through our social media channels.
Until next time, happy baking and bon appetit.